everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Let me just close the window. Okay, that should be a bit better. Today I have a video which is going to be a part of a new series that I want to call Inner Ramblings. Basically, it's going to be me rambling on about some thoughts I've had. It will be like thoughts, opinions, concerns on like whatever topics, however often and frequent I'd like to do these. So I wanted to do this for quite a while because like earlier this year I kind of changed my channel in terms of like the content I wanted to do, and this is stuff I've wanted to be doing for a while now, so I'm finally sitting down and doing this. But today the topic I want to talk about is being a second generation immigrant, which I just wanted to kind of get some thoughts off my chest and share that with you guys. I'm going to be doing my makeup as I go, and if you do care about what I'll be putting on my face, I'll try and link everything and list everything below. I'm going to start off by putting on some lip balm. I first kind of thought about this topic when I watched one of Shirley B. Enyang's videos that was like chill with me or something, and basically she just mentioned something about, I don't know, it's the guy, is it Aziz Ansari or something? He's the main protagonist in Master of None on Netflix, which I really like, and he's Asian living in America, and I think she read his book and he talks about being like a second generation immigrant, and she touched on it in like a chill with me video, and it's just something that really stuck with me because I feel like I'm constantly thinking about that and trying to reconcile like being like not really from England. And for those of you who don't know, I come from like London, England. I'm currently in Norwich here because I study architecture at university. But my mother is Ghanaian, that's in West Africa, and my dad is from Dominica. And this is not to be confused with the Dominican Republic. This is in the Caribbean. It's like near Martinique and Guadeloupe and Trinidad and Tobago, like that area. So already I am a mix. I know I obviously don't look mixed, maybe, I don't know. I don't have that, I don't look like the most like classically mixed person, and I am mixed from two of the same like races because obviously both my parents are black. But I don't know, I feel like that's already like another thing, and then being in this country is like, I don't know how to really describe this, but like at home we speak English. I know like with other families, like because I am second generation immigrant, some families speak other languages. Like one of my best friends, Nalini, she's Gujarati, so I think she's got a pretty good understanding of it and she speaks it around the home, and both her parents understand it, whereas my mum obviously speaks Ga and also Tree, which is a tribe in Ghana, which is a dialect from a tribe in Ghana, sorry. And despite Ga being called Ga, that's not what's mainly spoken in Ghana, so I think Tree is like the most universal. And my dad, being from the Caribbean, he speaks patois, which is like broken English. So they don't really they don't speak or understand each other's languages, so we all kind of speak English. I did spend like a part of my childhood in Ghana, and sorry, let me just get the rest of this off. In Ghana, so I did speak Ga fluently for a while. I don't think I ever really learnt tree properly. Maybe I did pick it up when I was younger, but that's something that I was quite familiar with, was Ga. But I can't really speak it properly. My cousin, one of my closest cousins, she always says that I sound Chinese when I try and speak Ga, which is a bit off-putting. I'd like to think I can understand some of it, but it's not to a great degree. I probably understand French more than I do Ga, and that's mostly because I've been studying it. And whilst I probably have had more opportunity to speak Ga, I just haven't, and it's not something I picked up. And the same goes for patois, but the thing is that my dad doesn't really speak patois like that often, and I feel like on my mum's side she's a bit closer with her siblings, and she's got lots of siblings, so we constantly hear her speaking Ga like on the phone or when they come round, whereas that's not quite the same on my dad's side. So yeah, that language thing is something, and I think my main concern is like identity, because I feel like there's this massive identity sort of crisis you can have to a certain extent, because one thing is that like I've grown up in the UK, like I'm very much assimilated into the culture. I'd happily call myself British. I know more about British history than I do about Dominican or Ghanaian. So yeah, that's just something that is really kind of weird for me, because I'm kind of torn between the two, and like I get this, people have like mentioned or said to like called me things like an Oreo, which means to say that, you know, I look black on the outside but I'm like a white person on the inside, or that I speak like a white person, which, I mean, what does that even mean? That's just a ridiculous notion, but I've like been told that nonetheless, or that like I'm quite well spoken for a black person, things like that. In terms, like, one of my biggest things is when my parents eventually kind of leave this earth, like the culture, like how am I going to kind of breathe that into the lives of the next generation, which will be my kids? That's like something I genuinely like think about on a regular basis, and yeah, it's just something that kind of occupies my mind every now and then. And I don't know, I feel like I have to make a conscious effort to try and get out to Ghana and Dominica more, and make a personal effort to kind of get to grips with them more. But I do find that there is this this uncertainty I feel, and like also to a certain extent I feel that whenever you do go back home, and being as with my accent and how like assimilated into British culture I am, that there seems to be something quite standoffish about locals, and even like family members who kind of don't maybe even see you as Ghanaian or Dominican in that sense. So that's just something that's been on my mind. I wanted to discuss, and like this idea of, you know, identity, because I do have this duality between these two identities that I identify with. Sorry to be saying identify so many times. So yeah, that's quite a big thing for me. So yeah, like the food, the culture, because I feel like it's the most rich now, being passed on to the next generation, in terms of like my aunts, like my mum and that generation, and like my generation. Like it's so rich, but part of me feels like as the generations go on, it's going to be diluted, which concerns me. But at the same time, there is the option of probably like marrying into similar cultures to kind of keep that thing going, which is another thing, that's a whole other subject. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to mention feelings towards that, and like this idea of belonging, and like what is home. I do call England and London home, that is home to me, but at the same time, like Dominica and Ghana are also home to me in another sense. Like in terms of biology, I've only recently discovered this, but black people don't naturally produce vitamin D, which is a vitamin that you mostly get from the sun, because obviously in terms of like evolution, we're usually in warmer climates, and that's why we also have a high concentration of melanin, which is a chemical pigment in our skin, so we don't burn in the sun. But it's like little things like that where, you know, I should be taking a vitamin D tablet every day, which obviously I forget to do. But yes, this kind of pull between like identities and what I identify with. And also, like, I feel that in terms of friendships, like, I don't have like this massive friendship group of like black people that I see like so many other of my relatives and other like friends, especially at high school, had. And I don't know, and part of me feels like I wouldn't be completely accepted, because to some extent I'm not always considered black enough, or black to a certain degree. So yeah, that's something I'm just kind of considering. And also, like, I think it is important to be around people who are like you and like-minded and kind of understand, because it is like really comforting, and it's lovely to share moments like that. I'm really lucky that it just so happens another one of my classmates, Drew, she's Ghanaian through and through, so both her parents are Ghanaian. And it's nice because we can talk about things like jollof rice, which is like a great dish that we miss when we're not at home, that our parents make, or other family members make. So yeah, I don't know, it's just one of those things that I do find on my mind. And in terms of identity as well, I don't know, where am I going with this? Just in terms of like having such a diverse identity, it's difficult to know where I stand, I think, in terms of being within each of those cultures, whether I am enough of the culture to a certain extent to be accepted into it. I don't know if I'm making any sense here. I haven't planned out this video. I'm just kind of, it's very off the cuff how I feel. So sorry if this makes zero sense to you. But also, if you can identify with what I'm saying, that would be great to kind of reassure me in the comments below. But yeah, that is something I find. But even like with the friends thing, it's not like I've purposely gone out of my way to avoid having black friends, because I'd never do that. But I'm just friends with people who I think complement my personality and who I get on with. And I happen to actually have quite a diverse group of friends. I've got like a close circle, like an inner circle of good friends, and then like a wider circle where we are friends, but I'm not as close to them as I am with the people from the inner circle. Yeah, so that's something. I guess one of the main things is like maybe the language and the culture. Like, I don't feel like I know enough. Like, if there was a test to see like if you qualify for being like another culture, like, you know, if you try and get into the States, I'm guessing they have like these questions that you have to like know all the answers to. Like, I feel like I would fail for like Ghana or Dominica, but I'd probably succeed in the British one. And I don't know, maybe I'm just saying I feel like a bit of an inadequate person of the culture of my parents, which is a bit ridiculous to say, I guess. But I guess there is this overriding feeling of inadequacy, I feel. But I'm not really sure like what to do about that or how to go about it. So yeah, there's that. But I will also say there is definitely like this feeling I've always had of not knowing exactly where you fit in. Because I'm not so British. Like, there are some aspects of British culture like I just don't know about. I think my housemate Declan is home. He is home. Hello again. where was I? Yeah, about kind of this feeling of inadequacy, and also like where exactly I fit in. I feel like I still don't really know where I fit in, or if it's even ridiculous to kind of be thinking that I am supposed to fit somewhere, because I feel like I struggle in terms of like my placing. Like, something that I think is really profound is whenever you have those forms and it like asks like what your ethnicity is, and you have to like tick the boxes, you're only allowed to tick one, and like they'll have mixed, which is kind of like white, British and other. They'll have like, for black they'll have black, like black, British, like African or Caribbean, and I'm both, but I can't tick both. And I am mixed to a certain extent, but I don't think that's kind of acknowledged. So yeah, I don't know. And in terms of like stereotypically like black things, like I'm not that into rap or anything like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't kind of dismiss it entirely as a genre, but it's just not my cup of tea. I much prefer like indie and rock. But this brings me on to something like Afropunk, because Afropunk, I went early this year. I haven't actually put up that video. Just a side note, I wasn't feeling like in a vloggy mood, so I kind of like vlogged around me. I didn't really talk through it, so I might just do like a post rationalization video of Afropunk. But it's like, there's slogans like no homophobia, no racism, no ageism, no ableism, like just no discrimination basically. And it's this community and organisation of just accepting that like there are different kinds of black people, because I feel like especially in the media it was like, it's stereotypically like this sassy person who's really like snappy and has an attitude, but obviously we're not all like that. That's just like a gross generalization. But I feel like Afropunk is like something that can reconcile that. So I was really fortunate, that they came to England this year. It was at Alexandra Palace, London, and I went this year, and I went with my sister and she had a friend, and it was great. I don't think I had like the best time when I was there. I would have liked to have gone with someone, because even though I went with my sister, she kind of hung out with her friend, which is like fair enough. So yeah, it's just like this space where you can kind of be truly yourself, which I absolutely love. And other things like no homophobia or anything like that, like it was really good and I had such a good time. And it's just like this really friendly space for it. I think it's obviously like it's much better in the States, but it's starting to get like some ground over here in the UK, which I really like. So that's something that's been helping me kind of reconcile, not an identity crisis, because I feel like I know who I am, but I don't know, just like my footing and my identity and what I'm like. So yeah, I don't know if there's much else for me to say concerning the subject. Just that yeah, that's just how I feel. I might continue to update you on how I'm feeling about this or what I'm doing. It would be cool if I could get some other people to talk about this. I might try and get one of my besties, Laini, to talk about this, maybe, if she feels that way, or in a similar way towards me. I might get Drew to talk about it and some other friends, perhaps. But yes, that is all I have to say, I think, concerning this subject. Oh, As you can see, I heavily struggle with eyeliner, but I don't think it's gotten that bad today. Yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this kind of video. Let me know if there are any more similar types of video you might like from me, like this. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about. I'm just going to get up on my phone, like the ideas that I've got. I also want to do a video called A Girl's Warped View on the World, because I have like really got into Diary of a Teenage Girl, the film and the book, which the book I almost finished, but I left it in London, so I haven't had it for a while. And just like in society and like the way we raise girls, like the warped sense of the world that they grow up to have, well, view, like in terms of, you know, love and marriage and what their expectations are, and like femininity and feminism and all these kind of things, because I think in general it's really weird, and obviously this is the same for guys as well, but I can only really give a girl's perspective because it's something that's like really hit home for me these past few months. So that's something I really want to talk about. Another thing is slavery, because obviously that's like a massive part of my culture. I am in that unique situation where I have family from Africa, so that's where the slaves were taken from, and then I also have family who are Caribbean, and there can be like a clash there in terms of the animosity, because in terms of the history of the slave trade, while some were taken from Africa, some were also happily given by people who were in charge. So it was kind of like the selling of your own. So there's definitely some animosity there. And like how we like to kind of say, oh, the slave trade has happened, it's forgotten, it's history, it's 200 years ago. But I think the effects of it are very real today. Like racism is not dead in any way, shape or form. It's in full force. So yeah, because like my last name is Belle, and that's the French spelling with an E on the end, which I get from my dad's side, and that kind of harkens to names given by slave owners that, you know, aren't indigenous to my dad's culture in any way, shape or form. But it's easy to say, oh, slavery's been and gone, but 200 years later I'm still going around with the name that is very much, with the last name that's very much not my own, but rather a name of a slave master, which still lingers. And I don't think that like black people entirely have got over it yet. I mean, obviously we've come a long way and things are getting better, but it's still, I think, greatly affecting us. But I think it's not really talked about that much to a certain extent. On top of that, obviously, I'd like to touch on Black Lives Matter, because that's something that really kind of hits home, especially given Trump winning. But let's not go into that right now. Another thing I might try and go in is to just identity, like more about how I feel kind of displaced to a certain extent. Not displaced, but don't know exactly where I fit in. I would love to talk about is political frustration. Obviously, you guys know about Brexit. Sorry if I keep going out of focus. Brexit, that was a big thing. And it frustrates me how little, like, more younger people that are in politics, because I feel like it's just full of like the much older generation, and they don't really, I don't feel represented when I look at politics. So I understand why many young people don't vote, but I personally value the struggle that has gone into me, one being a female, being able to like getting the vote, and also being black. So I do value voting, but I understand the frustration that people my age feel, because I don't think you're represented. It's very difficult to vote for or have faith in something that you aren't represented in. So yes, that's another thing. I also really want to kind of talk about YouTube more, because I did start my YouTube culture video. I wanted to do like a series on that, but I never really finished it. But I do want to finish it by the end of this year, because I did start. So that's something I would like to continue talking about, and like just what even is the point of YouTube, and yeah, just my thoughts on it. I'd also like to talk about architecture, because it's something I find interesting and really love. Obviously, I've decided to do it at university. I also really want to talk about makeup and how like my views on makeup have changed. Oh no, I got lipstick all over my teeth, because I feel like I used to be someone who just didn't wear makeup at all, especially in high school. I didn't really see the point of it, and I feel like I always thought that sometimes the girls would wear it. I went to an all-girls school, would wear it for boys and things like that. But I think, obviously, my feelings towards it have changed. I do it for myself. It makes me feel good. I enjoy like the whole like culture behind it, obviously on YouTube, blogging and all of that. So I wanted to talk about that, and how there can easily be misconceptions about how it makes you shallow, or how it's not that skin deep. I feel like I also would like to talk about books a bit more. I'm not a very well read person, but I'm trying to get into books more. And yeah, that's something else I'd like to look at. I'd also like to talk about fashion as well, even though I'm not a particularly fashionable person. Education, because I think it's a really interesting subject and it's very dear to me. Oh, I've realised I haven't done my eyebrows at all. And lastly, like body image and stuff like that. So I'm going to do my brows now, and I'm going to leave you, and I hope you didn't mind this probably very, very long rambly video. But after all, this series is called Inner Ramblings. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're looking forward to the next kind of batch of videos surrounding this new series. Do let me know what you thought. I'd really like your feedback so I can improve these as they go along. Any other subjects you'd like me to talk about. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and especially you're an absolute champ if you stayed watching this far all the way to the end. And I will see you next time with another video. Bye!